Alright folks, today we're digging into the top 7 Ruger pistols, from slick semi-autos to revolvers tougher than your mother-in-law's meatloaf. Need something for taking down the big stuff? Yep, Ruger's got you covered. Let's lock and load and find out which of these bad boys deserves a spot in your arsenal. The first thing you'll notice with a Ruger Koenig Competition SR1911 is the fit. It's tight, smooth, and it comes loaded with a fiber optic front sight and a rear adjustable target sight, which means you're going to be dead on whether you're shooting for points or trying to look cooler than the guy in the next lane. It's like Ruger knew you wanted accuracy but also didn't want to spend half your life trying to dial it in. And that trigger's so crisp it feels like it's straight out of one of those professional grade race guns, which makes sense considering Doug Koenig had a hand in designing this. It got a fully machined Koenig hammer and searfire controls and a Techwell mag. You might compare it to some of the other 1911s out there, maybe a Springfield or a Colt, but what sets this one apart is that it's competition ready right out of the box. Ruger didn't just build a 1911, they built one with Doug Koenig, a guy who's won more competitions than I've had cups of coffee, and I drink a lot of coffee. The barrel? Precision fitted. That means it's not just accurate, it's got the kind of accuracy that makes you look better than you probably are. And since it's chambered in 9mm, it's got softer recoil, meaning you can stay on target for those follow-up shots. Another thing I love, this thing's got a nitrided stainless steel finish. One of the standout features of the Ruger American pistol is the recoil-reducing cam. Compared to a Glock 17, which has its own appeal, the Ruger American feels just a bit more refined when it comes to recoil. It's lighter, smoother, and honestly, it makes follow-up shots feel easier. Perfect for when you're at the range trying to impress your buddies. Ruger equipped this model with a 3-tension striker system. Let me tell you, the trigger feels crisp. Even die-hard Glock fans will take a notice. The reset's tactical and audible, like a satisfying click when you lock your belt buckle after a hearty barbecue. You know it's secure. It's almost as if Ruger looked at that Glock trigger and said, we can do that, but let's make it even sweeter. Now let's talk about that magazine. It loads smoothly, seats nicely, and doesn't give you that awkward clank that some of the other pistols do when you're loading it up for action. It's like the Ruger American was designed to give you that solid, dependable feel every time you pull the trigger. I'm telling you, this thing's built like a tank, but a tank with a whole lot of style, so you can look good while you're putting rounds in downrange. Plus, let's be real, there's nothing cooler than pulling out a pistol that's competition ready straight out of the box. You'll be the guy everyone wants to borrow from, but they can't because, you know, this gun is definitely not leaving your hands. The Ruger Max 9 is small, just under 1 inch wide and 6 inches long, but don't let that size fool you. It's got a 3-inch barrel and weighs about 18 ounces, which means it's light enough for carry, but solid enough to remind you it's there when you need it. And with a 12+1 capacity, you're looking at more firepower than most other guns in this size. Compared to some of the other micro compacts out there like the Glock 43X or the SIG P365, the Ruger Max 9 really holds its own. It's got the same slim profile that makes concealed carry easy, but where Ruger pulls ahead is in those day-night tritium fiber sights. Whether it's bright as day or darker than my morning coffee before the kids wake up, you'll be able to get on target quick. Plus, it's optics ready. Throw on a red dot sight and you've got yourself a setup that's ready for anything. And not every micro compact offers that straight out of the box. Let me tell you, for under $500, this thing's got features that'd normally cost you extra on other models. The Max 9 is what I'd call a no-compromise carry piece. Now, when it comes to compact pistols, there are a lot of choices out there. You got your Glocks, your SIGs, and even some Springfields, all solid options, don't get me wrong. But here's the deal. The Ruger LC9S brings something to the table that some of those other guys just don't. For starters, it's got that sleek, slim 9mm profile that makes it disappear right when you need it to. Weighing in at just about 17 ounces with a barrel length of 3.12 inches and an overall length of 6 inches, it's made for easy concealment. Heck, it's thinner than the excuses my teenager gives when she forgets to take out the trash, sitting at just 0.9 inches wide. Compare that to some of those bulkier models and you'll see why it's a dream for everyday carry. And then there's the trigger. Oh boy, the trigger. I've fired a lot of single stack 9s in my day, and let me tell you, the LC9S trigger pull is something special. It's crisp, it's light, and it's smoother than my daughter's TikTok scrolling finger. Now, I'm not just blowing smoke here. This striker fired action really does make a difference when you're out at the range or in a serious situation. It's got that predictable break, none of that vague, maybe it'll fire, maybe it won't nonsense. And compared to some of the other compact pistols I've handled, this one feels like it was actually designed with the shooter in mind. The Glocks, for instance, have that noticeable reset, a good thing, sure. But the LC9S has a different feel. It's more subtle, but once you get used to it, you'll appreciate how intuitive it is. The Ruger EC9S is lightweight, compact, and let me tell you, it is easy as heck to carry. Small, but you know it's got some serious stuff inside. The barrel measures in at just 3.12 inches, and the whole thing is only about 6 inches long. You tuck this thing in and you're ready to go, like a secret agent. But you know, without all the tuxedos and fancy gadgets and margaritas. Ruger made sure this EC9S was built to last. The frame is made of some tough polymer, and they slapped some alloy steel on there in for good measure. This thing is rugged. 7 rounds in the mag, plus 1 in the chamber, and that's 7 plus 1 for those of you keeping score. And in a tight spot, that is plenty to get you out of trouble. When it comes to shooting, the EC9S is a smooth operator. The trigger's got a nice easy pull, not too heavy, not too light, kind of like that perfect burger patty on the grill. You'll notice it's got a bit of travel before it breaks, but it's predictable. And that's what you want in a self-defense situation. But let me tell you guys about the grip. Man, this grip is comfy. Even with my big old hands, I can still get a decent hold on it. All thanks to the extended base plate on the mag. No snake bites here, folks. This beaver tail's deep enough to keep me from getting nipped, which, let me tell you, is always a plus. But don't get me wrong, this thing's still a small gun. If you got mitts like mine, reaching the mag release might make you do a little hand shimmy. Not a deal breaker, it's just something to be aware of. And yeah, when you shoot it, it's got a bit of a pop to it. I mean, it's lightweight, and you're still sending 9mm downrange, so it's gonna jump a bit. Think of it like trying to hold on to a hyperactive puppy. You gotta be ready for a little bit of squiggling. The Ruger EC9S is a solid choice for concealed carry. It's reliable, it's comfortable, and it's priced just right. The LCP Max has taken everything we thought we knew about micro compacts and flipping it right on its head. I mean, look at this thing. 5.17 inches long, and it still manages to pack 10 plus 1 rounds at 380. Let me tell you, back in my day, you'd be lucky to get 6 rounds in a gun this size. Like going from a single cheeseburger to a double with extra bacon. No one's complaining about a little extra capacity. Now, one of the things that really got me was the grip. You look at the LCP Max and you might not notice much at first, but you get it in your hand and you realize it's got a bit more to hold on to. Just a little extra beefiness that makes a world of difference. Ruger was not messing around with the texturing either. Like they heard every gripe about the old LCPs and said, you know what, we gotcha. It's a small touch, but boy, it does make it more comfortable. I remember the old LCPs feeling like you're trying to hold on to a bar of soap after a long day of grilling. Slippery and just a little bit awkward. But man, this one's like holding on to a well-worn baseball glove. Solid, comfortable, and just right. And let's talk about that trigger for a second. The original LCP's trigger, well, let's just say it wasn't anything to write home about. Felt more like trying to break a rusty hinge than firing a pistol. But the LCP Max? They smooth this thing out to where it's got a nice clean break. It's not like breaking glass crisp, but it's got that creamy, satisfying feel like snapping a piece of good beef jerky. And if you're wondering about the sights, Ruger stepped it up there too. You get a blacked out rear sight and a front night sight, which on a gun this size feels like you just put a turbocharger on a lawnmower. It's small, but it makes a big difference. The Ruger Security 9 got something a lot of other pistols in its class just don't. It's like the sweet spot between too big and too small. Like finding that perfect coffee mug that fits just right in your hand. The Security 9's got a 4-inch barrel and a 15-round magazine, which means you can carry it without feeling like you've got a brick strapped to your hip. But it's still got enough weight that you know it's there when you need it. It's not exactly a compact, but it's still concealable, comfortable enough for everyday carry, and big enough to make it a real joy at the range. Whether you're plinking cans on the weekend or using it for action shooting, this gun's got you covered. Now, a lot of folks out there like to compare it to something like a Glock 19, and I get it. They're both mid-sized, affordable, and built to last, but let me tell you, the Security 9's got a personality of its own. For one, that light, crisp trigger feels like it's pretty dang close to the Ruger's LCP2, and that is a good thing. It makes for easy, smooth shooting without any surprises. Now, I gotta say, the ergonomics are where this one really shines. The rounded, contoured grip feels just right. Not too aggressive, not too slippery. Kinda like holding onto a well-worn baseball glove. We're talking about Goldilocks here, folks. It's got just enough texture to give you confidence without tearing up your hand. And hey, the manual safety? It's there if you want it, and it's easy to work with, unlike some other safeties that feel like they're playing hard to get. But what about you? You got a favorite feature, or did I miss something? Drop it in the comments below, and if you're into content like this, hit subscribe, like, share, or check out the next video to your right. Thanks for watching.